When we think about changing our lives, the first step is always the hardest because it requires something most of us fear deeply: vulnerability. Change demands that we step into the unknown, leave behind the comfort of what's familiar, and face the possibility of failure. But here's the truth: nothing extraordinary happens without a willingness to be uncomfortable. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's bravery in its rawest form. Vulnerability often carries a stigma. It's a little bit uncomfortable. Vulnerability often carries a stigma. It's bravery in its rawest form. Vulnerability often carries a stigma. Many of us are taught from a young age to equate vulnerability with weakness. We're conditioned to hide our fears, mask our insecurities, and present an image of strength and control to the world. But if we look deeper, we realize that vulnerability is not the enemy of change. It is the birthplace of it. To transform your life in 2025, the first and most crucial step is to embrace vulnerability as the foundation for growth. Vulnerability is the willingness to be seen as you truly are, without armor or pretense. It means acknowledging that you don't have all the answers, that you're scared, or that you've made mistakes. And while that might sound terrifying, it is also incredibly liberating. Why? Because it frees you from the impossible task of perfection. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you create space for authenticity, connection, and courage to take root. Let's start with authenticity. True change cannot happen if you're trying to become someone you're not. Too often, we pursue goals based on what we think we should do or who we should be, rather than what truly aligns with our values and desires. Vulnerability invites you to strip away those layers of expectation and get honest with yourself. What do you want? What's holding you back? When you dare to ask these questions and answer them truthfully, you lay the groundwork for meaningful transformation. Next, consider connection. Humans are wired for connection, but genuine connection requires vulnerability. It means showing up as your imperfect, evolving self and trusting others to do the same. When you share your struggles, dreams, and doubts with the people who matter, you open the door to support and encouragement. You also inspire others to embrace their own vulnerabilities. And isn't that what we all want? To feel seen, heard, and understood. Vulnerability isn't just a gift you give yourself. It's a bridge you build with others. Finally, there's courage. It takes incredible courage to step into the unknown, to admit that you don't have it all figured out, and to risk failure in the pursuit of growth. Vulnerability and courage are inseparable. You cannot have one without the other. Every time you choose to be vulnerable, you strengthen your capacity for bravery. It's like building a muscle. Each small act of openness, whether it's asking for help, sharing your dreams, or trying something new, brings you closer to the life you want. So, as you stand at the threshold of 2025, ask yourself this: what would it look like to embrace vulnerability in your journey of change? Maybe it's finally admitting that you're unhappy in a situation you've outgrown. Maybe it's opening up to a trusted friend about a dream you've been too scared to pursue. Whatever it is, remember this: vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, it's a declaration of strength. It's the moment you stop hiding and start living. The path to transformation isn't easy, but it is worth it, and it all begins with the courage to be vulnerable. When we dream about changing our lives, we often imagine grand gestures and sweeping transformations. We picture quitting a job to start a business, running a marathon, or turning our lives around overnight. While these big ideas can be inspiring, they can also feel overwhelming, leading us to procrastinate or give up entirely. Here's the truth. Lasting change doesn't come from one monumental decision. It's built on the foundation of small, consistent actions taken daily. Think of your life like a garden. Planting a seed is a small act, but it carries infinite potential. However, planting the seed is just the beginning. If you water it regularly, ensure it gets sunlight, and protect it from weeds, it grows into something extraordinary. If you neglect it, even the most promising seed withers. This is the essence of small, consistent actions. They may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time they transform your life. The power of small actions lies in their accessibility. No matter how busy, tired, or uncertain you are, there is always a tiny step you can take toward your goal. Want to get healthier? Start with a 10-minute walk or swapping soda for water. Dreaming of a new career? Spend 15 minutes researching your field or updating your resume. These steps may seem inconsequential at first, but their cumulative effect is profound. Each small action builds momentum, creating a ripple effect that carries you forward. As motion takes root in our hearts, we change our world, changing our internal climate. Consistency, however, is where the magic happens. Anyone can take one small step, but repeating those steps day after day is where real transformation occurs. Why? Because consistency rewires your brain. It turns actions into habits, and habits into a new way of being. When you consistently show up for yourself, you're telling your subconscious, I am someone who takes action. I am someone who follows through. You are the controller of your mind and emotions. You're the one who writes the script. You're the one who takes the actions. You're the one who writes the script. You're the one who follows through. Over time, this builds self-trust and confidence, essential ingredients for change. Another beauty of small, consistent actions is their resilience. Life is unpredictable, and big plans can crumble under the weight of unexpected challenges. But small steps are adaptable. Can't make it to the gym? Do a quick workout at home. Don't have time for a full day of work on your side project? Dedicate 15 focused minutes. By committing to the principle of consistency over perfection, you keep moving forward even when life gets messy. It's also important to celebrate the wins along the way. Each small action is a victory, a declaration that you're showing up for the life you want. Celebrate those moments, no matter how tiny they seem, because they are proof of your commitment. As you step into 2025, let go of the pressure to overhaul your life all at once. Instead, focus on the next small step you can take. Trust in the process. Brick by brick, day by day, you're building something remarkable. Change isn't about being extraordinary in a single moment. It's about being consistent in the ordinary ones. This is how you transform your life, one small action at a time. We all carry stories about who we are, where we've been, and what we're capable of. These stories shape our identity and guide our choices, often without us even realizing it. But here's the thing, not all the stories we tell ourselves are true, and not all of them serve us. If you want to change your life in 2025, you must rewrite your story, and that starts with owning it fully. Owning your story means accepting every part of it, the victories and failures, the strengths and flaws, the joy and pain. It's about recognizing that your story is uniquely yours, and every chapter has contributed to the person you are today. This isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity. When you own your story, you reclaim the power to shape your future instead of letting the past define you. One of the first steps in rewriting your story is identifying the narratives that no longer serve you. We all have limiting beliefs, things we've internalized over time that keep us stuck. Maybe you've told yourself, I'm not smart enough to go back to school, or I'll never be successful because I've failed before. These beliefs are not facts, they're stories, and the good news, stories can be rewritten. Meanwhile, your story's limitations can be rewritten. Start by challenging these narratives. Ask yourself, is this story really true? Where did it come from? Who benefits from me believing it? Often you'll find that these limiting beliefs are rooted in fear, shame, or other people's expectations. Once you recognize them for what they are, you can begin to replace them with stories that empower you. Instead of, I'm not smart enough, try, I'm capable of learning and growing. Instead of I've failed before, say, my failures have taught me valuable lessons that will help me succeed. Owning your story also means embracing the messy parts, the mistakes, regrets, and moments you wish you could erase. These are not weaknesses. They're part of what makes you human. When you hide or deny these parts, you give them power over you. But when you acknowledge them, you take back control. You turn your wounds into wisdom, your failures into fuel, and your pain into purpose. Another powerful aspect of rewriting your story is reframing how you see the future. Your story is not set in stone. It's a living, evolving narrative. If there is a chapter in your life you're unhappy with, you have the power to write a new one. Imagine the life you want to create and start writing that story today. What does the main character, you, need to do, believe, or change to make it happen? Finally, remember that rewriting your story doesn't mean doing it alone. Share your journey with others who support and uplift you. Vulnerability in sharing your story invites connection, and connection fuels transformation. 2025 is a blank page waiting for you to write the next chapter. Own your story, both the light and the shadows, and use it as the foundation to create a life that aligns with your dreams and values. You are the author of your life. Make it a story worth telling. Change and growth are uncomfortable. That's a truth many of us try to avoid. Yet discomfort is the price we pay for transformation. It's the bridge that connects where we are now to where we want to be. Cultivating courage to embrace this discomfort is not just a step in the journey, it's the very heart of it. Without courage, we stay in the safety of the familiar, even when it no longer serves us. With courage, we dare to step into the unknown and create something new. But what does courage really look like? Contrary to what we often imagine, courage isn't loud or dramatic. It's not always a bold leap or an act of heroism. More often, courage is quiet and steady. It's the willingness to take one step forward even when fear whispers, "What if you fail?" It's showing up for yourself and your dreams day after day, despite the uncertainty, The discomfort of growth manifests in many ways. It's the fear of failure, the vulnerability of starting over, and the challenge of confronting parts of yourself that you'd rather ignore. It's the awkwardness of trying something new and not being good at it yet. But here's the paradox. Growth only happens when you lean into this discomfort instead of running from it. Growth asks you to sit with your fear, acknowledge it, and move forward anyway. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate courage is to redefine your relationship with fear. Fear isn't a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's evidence that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. Rather than seeing fear as an obstacle, see it as a companion on the journey. Let it walk beside you, but don't let it lead. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing to act in spite of it. Another way to strengthen your courage is by setting small, manageable goals that stretch you just beyond your current limits. When you take on challenges that feel achievable but slightly uncomfortable, you build confidence and resilience. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes second nature. It's like strengthening a muscle. The more you practice courage, the stronger it gets. Community also plays a vital role in cultivating courage. Surround yourself with people who support and inspire you, who remind you that you're not alone in your struggles. Sharing your fears and dreams with trusted friends or mentors creates connection and accountability, making the journey feel less daunting. Lastly, celebrate your courageous moments, no matter how small they seem. Each time you step into discomfort, whether it's having a difficult conversation, trying something new, or taking a step toward a long-held dream, you're proving to yourself that you're capable of growth. These moments are evidence of your strength, and they deserve to be acknowledged. As you move through 2025, let courage be your compass. Lean into the discomfort of growth, knowing it's leading you toward the life you want. Trust in your resilience, embrace your fear, and take that next step. The discomfort may be temporary, but the transformation it brings will last a lifetime. As you step into 2025, remember that true change is not about perfection, grand gestures, or overnight success. It's about choosing to show up for yourself, one step, one choice, one moment at a time. Embrace vulnerability as the foundation of transformation, for it opens the door to authenticity, connection, and courage. Recognize the power of small, consistent actions. Tiny seeds planted each day that with patience and care grow into lasting change. Own your story with all its light and shadow and use it as the springboard to write the next powerful chapter of your life. And above all, cultivate courage to lean into the discomfort of growth, knowing that every step outside your comfort zone brings you closer to the life you deserve. This is your year, not because of some arbitrary marker on the calendar, but because you've decided it will be. Change begins the moment you say, I am ready, and commit to the process, however imperfect or challenging it may be. Trust in your ability to evolve, to persevere, and to create a life that aligns with your deepest values and dreams. The path ahead is yours to carve. So step forward, embrace the journey, and remember, every transformation begins with the courage to take the first step. You've got this. Bobbits.